Welcome to Masters of the Industry, #M.O.T.I, a home for creatives to navigate and really understand this thing that we call the entertainment industry. Brands and anyone who actually use music could also learn a thing or two. Who am I? My name is Munyaradzi Hamandishe Yemurai Thomas Chanetsa.
However, from here on out, I'd like for you guys to refer to me as M.O.T.I, the man of the industry, your man of the industry. Can I get a M.O.T.I? There we go.
I've been in the African music industry for close to 10 years now. And within this time, trust me, I've learned a few things. A few things that I think that are so vital for you to understand as a creative in this space, especially in the African continent, so that we, as the African music industry, can progress and be the powerhouse that I truly believe we can be. So let me be your first M.O.T.I. In actual fact, I want to be your favorite M.O.T.I. Are there others out there? Definitely, and they'll soon join us. But my purpose, and the purpose of this platform, is to educate and inspire a new breed of business-minded people to assist our creatives in this industry. M.O.T.Is, hit the register button and gain access to videos that will explain the following. 1. Looking at yourself as a brand and music's role in building a brand. 2. The key team members that you need around you and their roles. 3. Understand and know what you and a producer need to do the minute you make a song in the studio. And we'll introduce the digital split sheet. 4. What is a CMO? A collection management organization. And we'll also touch on music rights and draw parallels between music rights and making a glass of juice. And number 5, legal agreements. Gain access to some verified legal documents that you can purchase and use at your discretion, all made by our M.O.T.I legal team. All this information and resources are available to you, all for free. All you need to do is register. So I ask you, for the betterment of the African music industry, join us, because we need more masters of the industry, M.O.T.Is.
Welcome to your ground, and my name is King Boaz, and we always do that thing that called New Voices Amplified. This is Munya Chanesta, and like I always do, I roll with kings, I roll with queens, and today I have another king in the building. He's a master in many respects. I'm not fit even to untie his shoes. So big in the industry, not only in South Africa, but in the rest of the continent. He's a king in Africa. He's done so much. So if you have been living under a rock, this is the unveiling of a champion as far as music industry is concerned. Hi, Munya. Welcome to the show.
King B, it takes one to know one, brother, man. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. That's actually one of the best introductions I've ever had. I need to take notes to remember. So for future interviews I have they must introduce me like that. But I'm good, King. How are you doing?
Yeah. I will start with Munyaradzi. I know there are many other names inside there. Chanetsa.
Yes. In between.
Yeah. Let's talk about with your name and surname. They knew that Chanetsa Kaiwewe, but
please, yeah, it's a balance. A balance between the two. Truly.
Yeah. So we are broadcasting to quite a number of people who speak different languages, and maybe if you can tell them what Munyaradzi means and what Chanetsa
Okay.
means. Yeah.
Okay. So Munyaradzi is, but the truth is, when you translate into English, it doesn't have the same weight. But it's okay. We'll try. Munyaradzi means the peacemaker or the comforter. That would be the best definition of what the word is. And that's why I'm in the industry. I chose the right industry because this industry needs peace. It needs some comfort. And then I guess the other half of the name, well, my surname, sorry, means Chanetsa, which means problem.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what my ancestors were doing for people to say that we need to name these guys problem. But as I said, I hope I create the balance. There's not too many problems.
Yeah, it's a good thing because problems in our present day language doesn't always mean someone who's troublesome, but it's someone who's trailblazer, shaking things and changing things, and that has been the journey of your life.
Amen, amen, and amen. Yes and yes.
Yeah. So let's go back to where Munyaradzi grew up, and what are some of the things, probably your first interaction with art as a kid before we get to Cape Town?
Okay, so my parents would always share, as a child, I think I was, to keep me quiet, if you just put me in front of the TV, I was happy. And I think Sesame Street was one of my favorite shows. So, and sometimes I think about it, I think that definitely must have had some influence on me because, the use of music there in Sesame Street, it made learning very easy, actually. And funny enough, one of the things that I don't really share, but, as a child, and my parents both share with me, I was a child where I started learning to speak at a very late age. There was even concern, Kuti. My parents at one point thought I was deaf because as a child, I never used to talk and the like, but eventually the doctors assured them that no, there's nothing wrong with your child. Some kids are like this. And but as I said, TV was something which my mother tells me that used to keep me very entertained. And I think throughout my life, I've always been in that. As in, when it comes to school, from a young age, I still have pictures of me in plays when I was a little baby boy, a toddler in grade R and stuff. And I'm always there. I was the lively one in the class. And I think music has always played a big part in my life. And even now, as I talk about how I was growing, I always found, even when I was at high school, I went to high school at St. John's College, and I remember being very active in the school plays again. I think in one of the school plays, one of the Christmas plays, I was the lead. I was the doctor. I was the donkey for the Christmas play, and I was the lead, and it was a musical, so I had to sing, and so I think the arts have always played a major role. And back in the days when there was still Haifa, I used to volunteer to be part of the Haifa had this volunteer thing where at the Harare International Festival. It was an annual festival that used to happen in Zimbabwe. And during Haifa, I used to volunteer to the point where now, I remember at one point I was now a stage manager. And this is stuff I used to do just as a teenager. So, I think I caught the bug and it's always been there. And I've just followed my gut throughout the course of things.
Yeah, all right, nice. I usually say to people that I talk to, introduce yourself and tell us what you do. But I thought that would be preempting if I do that because you're many things in the art industry and you've done so much. So I hope that you'll be able to kind of unravel the mystery that you are and the office that you hold at the moment. So you left Zimbabwe at some point and went to Cape Town. How did this happen?
Okay, so the order of things was, so I went to university in Australia. And, I was at Curtin University of Technology. That's where I did a double major in marketing and advertising, which if I have to be honest, originally I had gone there to do accounting. And I think after my first year, I had a great talk with my father. We sat down and I explained to him, I said, hey, your son will fail if I continue on this path. I'd rather do something which I thought was more creative, which I thought advertising was where I was like, okay, I can do advertising. And this was purely based on I always say this movie Boomerang from Eddie Murphy. I think it was in the early 90s or 80s, and he was an advertising agent. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's what it was. So I did my degree and finished my degree. I returned home for some time, and during the time, this must have been 2007. And at the time, you know, there wasn't much for me to do with my degree and the like. And I think I had two options where my father said either I can join the family business or I can explore going to Cape Town. And at the time, I think we were all pushing towards Cape Town. Even he thought, yeah, Cape Town was a better idea because my mother's actually originally South African. So my sisters were already here. They went to UCT or they had finished UCT. So by the time I think they now started working. So I went to Cape Town, and this is now me job hunting, looking for work. I'm getting an allowance. I'm not really enjoying it. I'm living off an allowance from my parents. I think the first 6 months passed, and then December time, I went back home again. I hadn't had a job, and I remember being disheartened. And then my father just said, "Hey, just give it one more try, and if it doesn't work, then we'll start applying for agriculture school because that's the family business." And so I went back again, and then now this time I just said, and that's why I say music is what I really believe what leads me. Because when the second time round, I said, let me just do what I love, which is music. And I said, let me become a DJ. It's like I said, and I knew I had a friend who I grew up from home, Adam Metcalf. Adam Metcalf, actually, his mother used to manage Tuku, funny enough. She was Debbie Metcalf. She was Tuku's manager. And but Adam Metcalf, he's always also someone who's in the music industry. So I linked up with him because he was already, until today, he's a DJ in the trance space. Like I thought, let me see the opportunities I thought in Cape Town in South Africa was, I was like, hey, there seems to be a gap with dancehall as African music from local, as in when I say I'm talking outside of South Africa, outside of South Africa. So I said, let me become a DJ where that's my focus. I spent time, I went to Adam's house. This is his first day. We linked up. He showed me equipment. He showed me around. And funny enough, whilst we were chilling, his sister comes home. His sister shares, we greet each other. It's been a long time. She asked me, what am I doing? I said, I'm looking for work. But I just thought, let me do this DJ thing in the meantime. So at least I'm earning my own money. So my parents can also don't have to send allowances. And she was just like, what kind of job are you looking for? I said the marketing and advertising, of which she shared that at her husband's work, they're looking for someone to do marketing and promotion. So I said, if there's an opportunity, let me in. So there and then she called her husband, who at the time, he was jumping onto a plane. So he was like, I'll call you back in an hour when I land. He lands, he gives a call. He just says, hey, is Munya still there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, the boss lady said if he's keen, he must just go for an interview in it was in, I can't remember the area, wherever. Go to the interview there, and we were working at the time. It was a home office. I went to the office, and that was my first taste of the industry because I didn't really understand. But at the time, the company was Putumayo World Music, and Putumayo World Music is a company it's a New York-based company. They specialize in doing compilation albums, themed compilations from different places in the country. They had lullabies. They would have African lullabies. They have African, and it's global. So they'd have French ones, French music, Italian music. So I mean, it was awesome to be exposed to so much music, and that was my first job and my first real taste of the industry. And that's how things started. Let me say in Cape Town. Yeah.
So in Cape Town, you stayed a good 2 years, and then at one point you decided to pack your bags and go to the city of gold at Jozi. What was the inspiration of going at Jozi? And also while at Jozi, let's also talk about you joining CCA.
Yeah. Okay. Super. So what ended up happening with Putumayo is that, the world was digital. And I remember even back then, and this is now, we're talking 2009, I remember the company didn't want to go digital because they saw their product as a much more novelty product, that people will still buy CDs because they love our artwork, they like the liner notes and the like. And then they also made the decision to no longer expand on the continent. So my boss at the time, she was like, the only reason why I'm based, because she was originally American. She's an American lady. Actually, Cassandra Goins. She's also a heavyweight in the industry. She was general manager of Tough Gong Records in Jamaica at some point. So I mean, she was just like, yo, if I'm not traveling anymore, then I might as well just be home. I can just manage the account. And so she went back home, but very fortunately, you know, we did have a very strong relationship, and she shared an opportunity. And she said, you know, Munya, you know my friend Stella, another lady who I've also looked up to and I've worked with many years now. But Stella at the time, she was like, they're looking for someone to do marketing at a company in Johannesburg, and the company is called Content Connect Africa. They do digital distribution. If you're keen, I can connect you, and at least there's an opportunity there, because I think we caught wind that things weren't going to be the same anymore at Putumayo. So me being I'm not a risk adverse person. I enjoy a new challenge, and you know, and I very much believe I follow my gut a lot, and God, you know, and I feel that everything worked out. So I said, you know what, I'm happy to ship up and move to Joburg. So I moved to Joburg, and the company, as I said, was Content Connect Africa, and at the time, Stella was actually also a consultant there. It was owned by two gentlemen by the name of Gary Finch and Harris Black. And what Content Connect Africa does, so back then, the core business was really just only doing caller tunes distribution. And I'd say that was like almost the bread and butter. And a caller tune, the formal name is a caller ringback tone, CRBT. And that's the song where it's one of the, I feel actually, it's one of the most slept on formats on the continent, where it's basically a caller tune is when, if you were to call me, instead of you just hearing a normal dial tone, if I've got a caller tune, you'll hear, let's just say Bube 2020, because that's the song I've downloaded that as my caller tune. So you will hear that instead of just hearing a normal dial tone. And I mean, I still believe that's still such a powerful, effective format, because, you know, in Africa, one of the things we forget is that here, we're not the masses. And when I say we, I'm talking about those of us who have smartphones, that have phones that are enabled, that go online and the like. We're still not a majority. The penetration is still growing. And so why caller tunes are so effective is because it number one, it's relatively cheap. I remember at one point in time it was being shared with me that the average person in SA, and this was a few years back now, I don't know the number now, but a few years back, the average amount of airtime a person will put on their phone is 11 Rand in South Africa. So that means, and that now, if you're thinking 11 Rand, that person, you know, they know exactly what they're going to do with that 11 Rand. It's not like they're going to subscribe to multiple things. So why caller tunes is so effective is because the price point, it was 50 cents a week. It was a subscription where you can, number one, you don't need to have a phone that's enabled to the internet, because it's almost like you just tap into the server and the server plays it on your behalf. So you don't need to have internet. You don't need to have space on your phone. You don't need to have a phone that needs to have megabytes. And as I said, it's relatively cheap. Someone who's putting 11 Rand on their phone, 50 cents may not hurt the bottom line that much, as compared to paying 5 Rand for a caller tune or the like, which was the price point at what time. It used to be 5 Rand, but then they changed it to 50 cents a week. So I mean, and then I mean, Content Connect Africa, whilst I was there, and that's where, as I said, alongside the team, my career, I think I really solidified my career within the industry. My roles evolved, and I grew in the company. It evolved from just marketing and promotion to, I think I was now heading up the marketing at one point. I then touched on I was heading up A&R, and I mean, my job was just really to make sure that your music, if you're a creative, if you're a musician, to make sure that your music was available digitally, because I mean, we're in a digital world, and the minute your song plays on radio, if someone Googles you, I used to say, if someone was to Google your name because they've heard your song, you should be able to find you, and they must be able to connect with you. However, the minute that you're not available, you've lost the listener, because the way the world moves is so quick that they've moved on. By the time now the next song is played, they like the next song, they've moved on. So having that digital presence is so vital for any creative, especially now more than any time. And as I said, the role evolved into now head of operations. I was part of the team, and I was responsible for opening up offices for Content Connect Africa in different countries. In Uganda, we opened up offices in Nigeria. We opened up offices in Ghana, and we also opened up in Angola. So I mean, we had these key territories where we were just opening up distribution channels via the network. Because as I said, MTN is the biggest network on the continent, and the quality tune business was a great business to be in, and just keep opening channels for South Africa. Now, anyone locally to get you, if you want your song available in Nigeria, you don't have to now deal with a Nigerian aggregator. You can deal with us, and vice versa. If you're a Nigerian artist and you want your stuff available in SA, you can speak to us. So we were just that conduit that was kind of bridging the gap across all these territories. And and as I said, and at one point I was now the managing director of the Nigerian office. I was the managing director of the Ghanaian office. Content Connect Africa was a great time, and the company till then, I mean, it's also evolved quite a lot. I mean, they've shifted their focus on creating platforms. There's a platform they have now called Viva Nation TV, which is a video online streaming platform. They've started Viva Nation Radio, which is an online streaming platform where there's music you can play. I mean, CCA was very enlightening, and one of the things I'm always grateful for was that CCA, when traveling, especially in the industry that we're in, music can be very tricky. There's a lot of people. Let me say, there's a lot of talkers you can come across. A lot of people can promise you the world and deliver you nothing, and they will do it with a smile on their faces. So I'm very fortunate that I can honestly say throughout all my travels, and I'm always fortunate to all the people I met in all these different territories, all the guys that I hired, the teams that we put together, we managed to get the right people that just moved with the right spirit, that worked with integrity, and the passion, the plan was just to deliver, and I'm very glad that I was blessed. And also outside of the people this is the people I encountered and I worked with. Till today, I've got great friends and great relationships all across the continent who we work together till today. So it's fantastic. I'm very grateful for the time I spent and had at Content Connect Africa.
All right, nice. I don't know if at Content Connect Africa is where you dealt with CMOs, or this is something that comes in later in your career. Do CMOs interlink with Content Connect Africa? And if they do, maybe if you can explain what CMOs are and what was the relationship between CCA with CMOs.
So how I now got into the CMO space, which is an abbreviation for Collection Management Organization. And I think it was actually my 9th year at Content Connect Africa. And I think after being at the company for 9 years, pardon me, I think I wanted something different. I wanted a new challenge. And very fortunately, I got a call from the CEO of Capasso, which is Capasso stands for the Composers, Authors, and Publishers Association of South Africa. And the opportunity that was laid on the table was that they were looking for someone to head up the licensing department. And they thought I'd be a great fit. And at the time, I'll be very honest, at the time, and that's what I'm saying, by this time I'd probably been in the industry since 2008 to 2019. That's a good, 11 years. I thought I had a good grasp of the industry and how things work until I joined the CMO space and I realized I had no idea about this part of the industry, which is being neglected, actually. People are neglecting it. And I mean, the CMO space in South Africa, the 4 CMOs that do different things. There's SAMRO, there's Capasso, there's SAMPRA, there's RISA. But also, sorry, I need to correct myself. There's also ECHO. RISA and ECHO kind of do the same thing. And there's also IMPRA as well, which actually SAMPRA and IMPRA also kind of do the same thing. So there's options. If you don't want to go with one CMO, you can go with the other. But each one serves its own function and purpose. And going to Capasso and heading up the licensing team, which is also really amazing. I met such amazing people. I worked with amazing people. Some of the smartest people I've met in my life. That really schooled me. It was baptism by fire whilst I joined there, because I really had to learn a lot in a short period of time. And they opened up the world of copyright to me, basically, and how copyright and the copyright holders, music has 2 copyrights, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. There's copyright in the sound recording, or let me just say in the song, in the master, and there's also a copyright in the composition. Composition is the elements that make up a song, and what makes up a song is instrumentals, lyrics. Who does lyrics? Songwriters. Who does the beat? Producers. So I mean, there's this whole, and I think it's actually when I joined there, I really started seeing like, you know, our songwriters and producers are really the forgotten creators, and I felt that it was mainly because you don't know what you don't know, and I think a lot of people aren't aware. They don't understand. They don't understand the functions of the CMOs. They don't understand who does what. And whilst I was at CCA, I was always the first one to put up my hand if there was anything to talk or to teach and do the like. However, when I joined Capasto, I really wanted to be like that person, because I said, like, this area within the industry is so gray. People don't understand. And I got more active in the panel discussions, and just to educate and just to push and the like. And I was very fortunate that Capasto also, they sent me to school. I went to a school called the Academy of Sound Engineering, where I did a masterclass in music business. And I mean, that was just an eye opener for me, more on the copyright side of things. As in, I think when it comes to the sound recording and the masters, I've got a good grasp of things, but on the copyright side, that was just an eye opener. And they also put me through, there's a thing called WIPO, which I think is the World, the World Intellectual Property Organization. They also do online courses and the like, which I had to jump right into. I'm glad to say that I passed all my courses that I did. I passed everything. Nice. And during those, and that's actually whilst I was at the ASC, the Academy of Sound Engineering, that's when I even came across the whole Mbube thing. That was the first time I heard about Mbube and the injustice that went down with that whole story. And that's when I think it really just threw more petrol on the fire that had been ignited, and it just gave me more passion to want to do more and to want to educate and to teach, because if anyone understands what happened,
I will interrupt you a bit, then we'll come back to Mbube. But for now, still on the Capasso, I understand that Capasso does what they call mechanical rights, while someone else does performance rights. And performance rights, I think it's what is more popular with most artists. That is what we think about. We think about the rights that I think has been in our faces for so long, and we forget about the people that actually are involved for putting up the song, more producers, songwriters, and whatnot. Maybe if you can give us a clear difference between the mechanical rights and the performance rights in a song. Let's talk, for instance, Questa song, Ngudu. What are the mechanical rights and what are the performance rights?
Okay, so I'll even go back a bit further. So one of the things that's very important, so SAMRO in South Africa collects the performance rights, and Capasso, as you said, collects the mechanical rights. One of the things that's very important and what's key to understand is that these two CMOs only deal with composers, and the composer is also defined as a producer, authors, who can also be defined as a songwriter, and publishers. Because you know the way that it works is that publishers also deal with, we sign songwriters and producers to represent them. Hence why SAMRO and Capasso deal with those two, or let me say those three entities: composers, authors, or publishers. That's who they deal with. So their job is to make sure that if you're a songwriter or if you're a producer, you get your royalties that are due to you. And the two royalties that are due to you are your performance royalties and mechanical royalties. So that's why I say it's very important to make it clear that we're talking to only songwriters and producers and publishers right now. So if you define what the performance royalty is, a performance royalty is basically, it's a royalty that is accrued when your song is played anywhere in public. That's the best definition. So technically, when your song is played on radio, if your song is being played, your music that you create is being played in a bank, whether it's being played in hotels, whether it's being played in all these different places, there's a royalty that is accrued, and it's called the performance royalty. And it specifically goes, and that royalty goes to the songwriters or the producers or the publishers.
Yeah.
So that's the performance royalty. And Capasso, who does the mechanical royalty now, mechanical royalties is also, we can call it the reproduction royalty, because mechanical is about reproduction. And if we take it back, so basically for me to break down the mechanical royalty and how it works now, mechanical royalty is based on usage of songs.
All right.
So just to break it down to you, Munya Chanesta, I make a song, Bube 2020. Now, I create the song and I want to get it distributed. I wanted people to be able to purchase it.
Yeah.
And let me go to the CD days. Now, I would go to Musica and I'll say, here's my CD and I want to sell this. In order for Musica to sell this, they have to make copies. And they legally create copies which are accounted for. So every time a copy is made, that's a mechanical. That's what we call the mechanical or the reproduction royalty. So because it's not like it's only me selling the one copy in the world. Once it's sold, it's done. And there's no more, I have to go back, make one more. No, you have to make copies. So now the mechanical royalty, as I said, it spans not only in the physical, where it's the physical, where CDs are being used and CDs are being made. It also goes across digital. So we talk about downloads. If you're on a downloading platform, when you download, you're downloading a copy. You're not downloading just the one song and now it's owned, you will own it and now you walk away with this. You download a copy. And every time there's a reproduction or a copy made, there's a mechanical royalty that is accrued. And that mechanical royalty, Capasso is the one who's responsible to collect that mechanical royalty from all these platforms, whether it's physical, whether it is digital. You have to collect all the royalties and make sure that this mechanical royalty goes to the rights holder. And as I said, the rights holder in this instance were songwriters, producers, or publishers. I hope that's clear.
Yeah. Then we move on to the office that you currently hold. You are an A&R manager in Africa for Sony. Let's start with how this position came about and what part of Sony are you responsible for in terms of the jurisdiction?
Okay. So how again this came about now? So I think, when it comes to, Capasso, it was a great learning experience. As I said, it was baptism by fire. I learned so much in a very short time, and it really just shifted my perspective on the whole industry and stuff and what's important. However, for me and the kind of person I am, and if anyone knows me, I like to get into the trenches. Like I'm someone where I like to be, when it comes to ding, when it comes to party time, when it comes to, I'm that guy. When it comes to studio sessions, I'm that guy. I like to be physically there with it. So I remember at Capasso, and this is something I've always done. When I was at CCA, I'll be that kind of person. And at Capasso, I found it very difficult because, I felt like I was living a double life at Capasso, where I was in Capasso was very much boardrooms and contracts and negotiations, and which is 100% vital and required and needed. However, when Sony approached, so I also want to make sure that it's clear that it's Sony Music Publishing, because Sony has two entities in this industry. There's Sony Music Entertainment, which is the record label side, and there's Sony Music Publishing, which is the publishing side. And as I shared, publishers deal with songwriters and producers. So Sony Music Publishing were looking at creating this role, this A&R role, which for the publishing side, this role didn't exist. Definitely on the record label side, they've had A&R teams for a while, but at Sony Music Publishing in Africa, there wasn't someone who had an A&R role, which is a role they were wanting to put together. And when it came to, the names that when conversations were happening, my name came up and the opportunity was shared. And I love the thought of just because already, as I said, this fire had been ignited because in my head I was like, yo, songwriters and producers are forgotten creators, and I think I was very keen and open to get back into that kind of role where I'm working directly with creators again. I'm not in the boardrooms. I'm not fighting for money, which is also something I find so odd. You know, when I was heading up the licensing department, you'd be surprised how these platforms that are using music, it's quite a struggle to license them and to get music. And you know why that is such a struggle. And one of the things I realized is because some of these CMOs, I feel they're just working as a CMO without the support of the industry because I feel people don't understand. I think if a lot of songwriters and producers understood the fight that happened in those boardrooms, there'd be more, and how it affects them directly. I think there'd be a lot more, things would move a lot more with that support of the industry. So I really implore people to really support the CMOs. They're trying to do a job which benefits you and the battles and the fights you go through. Yeah, you'd be surprised. And these are things which you'd imagine shouldn't be difficult, you know, but they are. It's like pulling teeth. But anyway, so when Sony came knocking, Sony Music Publishing, I mean, I was happy to jump at the task. And I mean, the job, I ended up shifting and moving to Sony Music Publishing last year, June 2020, 1st of June, during COVID is when I made the shift. And yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster since then, an awesome one that I must add, you know. So that's how things happen. And in terms of the role, so yeah, A&R. So A&R stands for Artist and Repertoire. So my job is to, number one, is to find the best songwriters and producers. And as I said, because we're Sony, we're Sony, so there's a level of quality we need to maintain. So I'm looking for the best songwriters and producers. And then what my job is, once I find you as a songwriter and producer, is to, number one, is to find you more work as a songwriter or producer. There are some instances where there's certain, because it's good to differentiate. Performing artists are represented by the record label, and a performing artist is the one who we see on TV. It's the Questas, it's the AKAs, it's the Caspers, etc., etc. It's the non-stables. It's these guys. Like those will perform because they perform. But some of these artists do have the skill and they write their own music. So that's why sometimes we do sign performing artists because they write their own stuff.
Yeah.
So my job is to when we signed non-stable last year, I wasn't signing her because she was a vocalist on Jerusalem. We signed her because she was the songwriter behind those lyrics of that song that got the entire world dancing during such a dark time.
Yeah.
So and my job is to utilize that skill of songwriting. And in some instances, DJ Mapurisa, it's utilizing him not as DJ Mapurisa, the artist who you see, but as a producer. And that's the skill. So my job is to find them more work as songwriters and producers. And Sony's a global company. So, and I mean, even last night, I was on a call till, 10 p.m. because, we're different time zones. Sony's global. So, we exchange ideas. We explore who's looking for music, who's currently looking for music, which performing artists are looking for guys to songwrite for them, to produce for them. And my job is then to get my guys to write and produce. The other function is also to also, and this is where so that's kind of the artist. Then the repertoire for A&R. Repertoire is now using the repertoire that we currently have, the catalog of music. How do we monetize that? So the other job is to also find what we call placement for music, for producers. Because, when we're working with a producer, a songwriter, we're not looking for only commercial music. When I say commercial music, commercial songs are the songs you hear on TV, on the music videos, the songs on radio. We also deal with what we like to call production music or library music. And sometimes that is background music. Sometimes in an advert, you don't even realize it, but there's music in the background of an ad, So our job is to also look for placements for music that we have for our songwriters and producers, whether it's commercial songs are done or whether it's just instrumentals or beats and stuff, and placement in what we look in is in movies, TV series, computer games, even now in this day and age now, is to find, and we actually call, when we place a song in those kind of things, we call it a synchronization deal. We are syncing moving pictures to music. So that's why it's called synchronization. So my job is to support. I have got someone in the team. There's someone who heads up. We've got a sync person already. So my job is also to support the synchronization team and to find placement for our guys. So that is really my role at Sony Music Publishing.
All right. Nice. Yeah. It's quite a tall order to try and reduce everything that you do and everything you are to one interview. But I have two very important things that I will not let you go without talking about. One of them is happy ending. We have the story of Solomon Linda, for those who don't know him, who wrote the song Imbube, which was later produced as The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I think it was after his death when it was produced, and there's a really complex story on how the song got to be what it was, but he never got the credit, even when the song made millions and millions of US dollars. Yeah. So we come to you as the man who was behind the happy endings and the song Imbube 2020, working with the artists that you worked with. Amongst them was M.O.T.I Queens. So how did this come about, and also maybe what you can share on this story, and how can the artist avoid these pitfalls? Because I know for sure Solomon Linda died in the 1960s. He only got 10 shillings, which was equivalent to $2 for his song, which was really nothing at the time. And yeah, so how did this come about, and how do you come into this movie story?
Okay, so I mean, one of the things, this thing, is, as I said, I first heard about the Mbube story when I was in class at the Academy of Sound Engineering, and I mean, and even in the chapter, it's the biggest. I mean, that's one of the biggest global copyright infringement cases that happens. It's a global thing, and I remember just thinking, it's so surprising that for something this massive, for someone, and as I said, at this time, Munya, 11 years in the industry, to have never heard this. So, I mean, I remember being in class, I heard the story and I was moved. And I remember thinking, someone should do something about this. Because one of the things I also came to learn about copyright is that copyright is an asset. And just like any asset, you can pass it on to your heirs. So your children's children can benefit off this. And, it's something which, obviously for the lifespan of the copyright of the song, because I think in SA, the copyright is the life of the creator, and 50 years after his death, there's copyright that is owned. There's a copyright, and you can monetize it. That's why I always say, for example, just to think, Michael Jackson's family are never going broke. Never. Because you can, I'm sure the state or the trust is managing that copyright of his music. Michael Jackson's songs are being played till today, and those monies are being collected. So, and that's why it pained me now. What pained me even more, outside of the fact that the injustice that happened, that this man died almost penniless, was that his family, who are still living, they're suffering from this thing till today, And that's when I thought, no, we need to do something. And there's actually a documentary on Netflix. It's called The Lion's Share, which goes into a lot of detail into this whole thing. So for anyone who's interested, please do just have a watch, and that will tell you the full story. I don't like to even get into it because it really upset me. And I think after I watched The Lion's Share, that's when I said, no, I actually said, I made a decision that I'm going to do something about this. If no one's going to do it, it's okay. Let me be the one. So, I mean, my idea was, what I ended up doing is I did research, and I found out that the original Mbube was out of copyright now. So that means when something is out of copyright, that means that it's in public domain, and therefore you don't necessarily need to, it's basically in public domain, so anyone can use this now. It's not, you don't have to even necessarily reach out to the rights holders to ask them. It's in public domain. So the original song Mbube was in public domain. And I said, what would be great? Imagine I could remake this song and give the family the happy ending, hence the name, the happy ending that they deserve, because this wasn't right. And I mean, if you watch the lion's share, you'll see there was no happy ending for the family. And that's where now the whole name Happy Endings came together. And the full name is Happy Endings, the Mbube Story. That's what the name of the project was. And so the plan was to remake the song and to do certain things that were not done in the past. And some of those things were to make sure that the copyright was put in order. That copyright, Solomon Linda was the one who owned that copyright. However, that was never respected and there was an infringement. So I just said, so what I decided to do is I created a song, or let me say, I was a brainchild. I was a brainchild of this, where I reached out to some producers, some great friends of mine till today who are still working together, Boki Alp and Cuba. And they put together a beat, and actually also featuring a gentleman by the name of Snow Keys. Snow Keys even does work with Black Coffee and the like. These guys, they're no small guys, you know. So these guys put a beat together, which I fell in love with in the instance I heard it. And now I remember my challenge at the time was, who can I get to feature on the song now? Because I wanted to make it grand. I wanted to make it large to the point where there's attention, the world's attention. So I remember initially my first choice was the Soweto Gospel Choir, of which Soweto Gospel Choir, they were keen actually, funny enough. And but you know, the problem that I encountered was that they're a big group, number one, and you know, they're very busy. And I mean, 1 minute you'd be talking, next thing they're in China, it's apologies, we can't do it, and next thing this half is gone there. And because they're a group, they sometimes mix and match. So Soweto Gospel Choir isn't necessarily the entire choir moving at one point. They might just get 5 people, you send them there. So it ended up being a bit difficult for me. And that's when I remember just waking up and I just thought, hey, the M.O.T.I Queen. And funny enough, so at Content Connect Africa, then my Aunt Stella, the lady I mentioned, the CEO of Content Connect Africa, CCA, she manages the Queen. And I remember just thinking, why not just approach and see? At which I approached her and I explained the whole concept and what I wanted to do. And I mean, I mean, it was a no-brainer for her. And that's how I ended up getting the M.O.T.I Queen. And also, by the way, through this, what ended up happening is I also reached out to the Solomon Linda Family Trust. And I mean, I got their blessing to do this. And I mean, I allocated, because now we created a new copyright now, and I wanted to do things correctly. I gave the family a 45% ownership of this new copyright. The remaining 5%, because as I said, I wanted everyone to benefit, I split it between all the different parties that were involved. So at least the family owns it. And I mean, happy endings, I mean, like, I'm still not even done with that project, by the way. It's something we still need to say. So, I mean, I got as far as I put together a lyric video. We put together a lyric video for the project. But ultimately, the idea is what's left, actually, is I needed to, like, I think what ended up happening was sponsorship. I ended up, you know, doing these things out of pocket. It can be expensive. So eventually I was like, you know, maybe this will come together. The right people will eventually, the money will come, because I mean, I still want to do an actual music video, an official music video, not just a lyric video. I still want to do remixes so that I can further extend the copyright that we've created to make it into, so to create remixes. And the idea is to do it with prominent names that we know. And I'm talking local, Africa, the rest of the continent, and even international, you know. The idea was to then look at putting together an actual concert to just, you know, where the family are invited and they're guests of honor, you know. It's a concert where now everyone who's taken part, all the remixes, the M.O.T.I Queens, everyone who's taken part, you perform your own songs, as well as obviously, I guess the grand crescendo would be to finish with the new performance of Mbube. And what the biggest dream actually was for me was, because I said, you know, we need to start celebrating our creators. Well, you know, in America, they have this Walk of Fame. I don't know, it's in Hollywood, where they have those big stars and they have the artists and well, it's not just artists, it's creators, I think. It's famous people, creators and the like. I was saying, you know, I'd love to create our own, you know. And then I came up with the concept of what I called was the Pride Walk. And I obviously tying into Lions of Pride and, you know, the Pride Walk, and the idea was to start and Solomon Linda to be the first the first recipient of his whatever it was, a plaque or his whatever we were going to create. So I mean, there's a big project still. So I mean, if anyone listens to this, I'm still looking for funding till today. So let's talk. If you're keen to make this a reality, let's talk business. And yeah, so I mean, it's still a work in progress, and I think, I mean, there's also opportunity to do it, not just for, we can do this. This is something which I look at doing, because this stuff happens every day, you know. And ultimately, this project was to do two things. It was to bring healing, because to right a wrong, you know, healing. A wrong against one is a wrong against all. And as an industry, as Africans, we need to recognize that, this is a solution and a way of healing. That's number one. And number two is to educate, because through this all, and as I shared for you, there's a link on YouTube where I do have, there's a video clip of me explaining the project and the like, as well as part of the recording process. There's the lyrics video. So you feel free to, if anyone's watching, or anyone who's listening, watching, please do check it out. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, we need to educate. And that's why I said, let me record every part of this process so people can understand what goes into the contract and the negotiation of the contract. What deal did I do with the people who are involved? Like, let's be transparent, because, you know, this thing where people, like, let's see what kind of contract I did with these guys. Let's put, what are the other things that we need to do? Let's get people members of the CMOs who compose, the guys who compose and took part. Let's get the members. Let's make sure those things, you know what I mean? So, happy endings, we're still waiting for the happy ending, but it's a work in progress.
Awesome. It was actually very heartbreaking, and at the same time, it was a good thing to see what you guys are doing. I remember one of the M.O.T.I Queen ladies were coaching you guys, telling you, like, sing like this, sing like this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting
process to watch. The M.O.T.I Queens, guys, you know, I have to be honest, those ladies, till today, I mean, they're between the ages of 73 and 78. I think last year, we celebrated Mom Hilda's 78th birthday. And I mean, she's still the standing M.O.T.I Queen. The two of them have actually retired. So it was such a blessing that even at the point when I did this project, the two who had retired, they came to be a part of this. Like, this was just like, let's do this, and they can go a part of it, because they're new queens. So Mom Hilda is obviously mentoring new queens. There's two new queens that are there. However, it was such a blessing to work with the originals. And as you're saying, moments like that, and I'm not even a singer. The reason why I ended up even lending my voice to the song for the bass is because I forgot that for that choral, you do need the bass. And I'd forgotten about that. So the M.O.T.I Queens were like, hey, you gents, just come and do it. And it was myself, Cuba, and the road manager, Veli Shabamu, who he was actually the percussionist for Lucky Dube. So, I mean, we were the guys who now it was my project. I had to stand up, and we recorded the bass on that project, which was also just, what an experience to work with the M.O.T.I Queens. I mean, that's such a blessing. I pray more for them.
Yeah. So before I let you go, you are doing the Masters of the Industry initiative. Maybe if you can break that down, and also maybe invite people to where they can go to be part of this process, because this is something I have seen what you're doing. I have heard what you're doing. I know this is something that's good for any music industry in the world, and most of us in Africa are lagging behind in terms of going forward and doing something about our art industry, especially the structure of what's supposed to be in place, what's supposed to be happening. This happens across the continent. I speak even to some of the successful economies like Nigeria. Still, the entertainment industry is still not what it's supposed to be. So maybe I will give you the honors to close by telling us what M.O.T.I stands for and what it does.
Oh yes, M.O.T.I, M.O.T.I, Masters of the Industry. So as I said, I guess through my journey, as I've shared earlier, is that, you know, I realized how, like, even when I joined Capasso, as I shared, when I just realized how much I didn't know about copyright, I thought, Munya has been in the industry for 11 years, doesn't know. So what chance does any young creative have in this industry. If they do, that means we're already dropping balls before we've even started playing the game, you know? And so that really was inspired. M.O.T.I Africa, it's an online educational platform, which is actually, in all honesty, it's a call out. This platform, as much as it's an educational platform, it really is a call out because it's a call out to protect our creators. It's heartbreaking that things that happened in 1938 to Solomon Linda are happening today in 2021, close to 80 years later. Soon we'll be hitting a decade of still the same things happening. And it's just like, no, guys, this can't happen anymore. So it actually is a call out. This call out is to educate, not only educate our creators, but part of me actually thinks maybe what part of the issue that we have is I think we're missing a layer of educated management within the industry space. Our creators, let them create actually. As much as, yes, I want them to understand and the platform is there for them, but I need, what I'm calling is for a set of people who want to be on the business side of the industry, who want to acknowledge and be a part of the business of music. That's those people who can be in the room with the creators. Let the creators create, but at least there's who I call a M.O.T.I, a master of the industry, who's with them in the studio to make sure that when a song is being created, that the split sheets are being done. The split sheets are also being submitted correctly to the CMOs. So the CMOs know who to pay. You know what I mean? Just all these to help them with business decisions, to make sure that they have the right team members. It's not just a situation where Munya just somehow I have a hit song and instead of having someone who understands the industry, I just call my best friend and say, yo, can you be my manager? Like, as much as I understand that you're reaching out to someone you trust, that person is not educated in this space. And this space requires education. And that's what I'm trying to push more than anything. So this online platform, motiafrica.com, www.motiafrica.com. I'm looking at probably launching. I was aiming to launch in August, but I'm going to be shifting maybe to September or October. The only reason being is because, you know, accessibility has been a big thing for me because I realized that I want anyone who accesses this, I want everyone to be able to access. Anyone who has an interest, you must know that what you're entering into. Because the problem is music looks too easy to make. Music looks way too easy. And that's why we have just this influx. Not only does it look too easy, but it's also easy to make. It's easy to download a program these days. You download a program, you start fiddling, you create a song, you get a microphone, you record, you've made a song. And now you think, the job is done. In actual fact, without being disrespectful to the creative process, that is actually the easiest part. You know, you end up realizing that the business side is now where you need to be sure of strategy, planning. You need to be, you know what I mean? Once you've done a song, what's the next song? There's so much that needs to be done. So basically, through M.O.T.I Africa, which, as I said, it's going to be, I'm providing resources. There's going to be certain digital resources which I feel are important to, and everyone needs to be able to access this. So there's going to be a freemium as well as a paid model. So the free content is stuff which you should know anyway. As I said, that's the narrative where basically M.O.T.I Africa is going to help provide a narrative so you understand each and every step of what you need to do. You need to hear the checkboxes of what you need to do to make sure you're doing things correctly. Because if you're not doing these things, then the likelihood of you having a long-lasting career will be shortened. And that's ultimately the purpose of this platform. And I'm super excited about this. As I said, the only thing that's my hold up right now, I was meant to launch this month. However, what I was looking into, funny enough, was making sure that people can also pay using airtime. I was trying to sort out what we call some airtime options. That's the only reason why things have taken a bit longer, but we're almost there. And I'm really excited about this platform. I'm really excited about meeting and engaging with aspiring M.O.T.Is, masters of the industry, people who want to be on the business side. And ultimately, it's for the betterment of the industry. And like my shirt says, my motto is what? When you know better, you do better. Know better, do better. Simple as that. So it's all about educating, know better, do better, and let's do better for our industry. And the idea is to make it an online platform so that it's accessible globally. Because I mean, as I said, it's not it's just for the industry as a whole. So I'm just trying to say, Munya Chanesta is trying to do his part. I'm happy to put my hand up to say I'm the first M.O.T.I, but we need there to be more. And in me saying that, there's definitely M.O.T.Is out there. And I mean, as the journey goes out there, there's other industry experts that I engage with, and they're keen to be part of this narrative and this M.O.T.I journey. They're open to it. So I'm the first of one, and I'm praying and look forward to being the part of a movement of many.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your knowledge. This hasn't been an interview, but it has been a lecture to me. I've learned so much listening to you and seeing some of the things that, oh, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. I need to research more on that part. Thank you so much. Maybe last question on the Sony part, as an A&R management, how does the rest of Africa benefit? For example, someone in Mtorashanga in Zimbabwe, someone in Bongan in Zimbabwe, someone in Kenya, in Sambaru, how do they reach you? How do they utilize your position to say, I am a writer, I am this, and this is my proven track record? How can I engage with Sony to say, this is my product, what can you do for me?
Awesome. So I mean, Sony, as I said, it's continental. So my role is covering the continent. It's not just for South Africa. So the best way to get hold of us, I mean, Sony has all social media. So if you look for Sony Music Publishing across Twitter, Insta, Facebook, we're all there. So that's one way. There's also an email address, which if anyone wants to just submit stuff, and when I say and that's what I always like to say, because sometimes I get emails that are talking about I need distribution, I need licensing. As much as I want to help, unfortunately, Sony Music Publishing does not do that. Publishing is a separate entity that deals with songwriters and producers, and the role of a publisher, is I didn't actually say the role. I mentioned my role earlier, but the role of a publisher is to, number one, protect your copyright as a songwriter, as a producer. Number two, make sure you get your royalties as a songwriter, as a producer. Number three, which is my role, find you more work as a producer. So make sure that if you're reaching out to me, you must be talking to me from a position of being a songwriter or a producer. And the email address is demo, DEMOZA, at sonymusicpub.com. So demoza at sonymusicpub.com. If you're confident and just want to shoot me an email, that's all good. We have listening sessions with the team. I actually had a listening session today. So we have listening sessions and we go through all the submissions. And if you hear back from us, that means we're interested in working. So yeah, those are the best ways to get hold of me when wearing my Sony A&R cap. And also on the other side, sorry, for M.O.T.I Africa, as I forgot to mention, the platform is live right now where, it's live in the sense where if you want to be part of the movement, if you want to know what's happening, you can submit your email and we will notify you when the launch is about to happen and the like, so you can gear up and get ready for something amazing, which will be motiafrica.com. And we're also M.O.T.I Africa social media and the like. Also, please feel free to engage on the social media platforms. And if anyone wants to get hold of me directly for anything, I do also try my best. I mean, I'm only one man, but I try my best. I also have my personal social medias. I'm most active on Instagram, and it's just Munya Chanesta. That's my handle. So feel free to also.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I will reach out to you again, maybe for something that is more specific. Let's talk about one thing, because I wanted to talk about many things. For example, branding of lyrics. I think of Zimbabwe, for example, the late Soja Love. He came up with the statement from Munya Chanesta. Is it possible to copyright those things? How do they utilize all those things and make sure that that word, that statement is protected? Do they just contribute to the language without getting anything? So maybe we can set a date and be more on an educational point of view. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing your knowledge. Until next time.
Until next time. When we know better, we do better.
Yeah, M.O.T.I.
So, M.O.T.I.
Yeah. So this was Munya Chanesta, is an A&R manager at Sony Africa, and I am King Boaz signing out from Earground, New Voices Amplified.
Welcome to Masters of the Industry, #M.O.T.I. A home for creatives to navigate and really understand this thing that we call the entertainment industry. Brands and anyone who actually use music could also learn a thing or two. Who am I? My name is Munyaradzi Hamandishe Yemurai Thomas Chanetsa.
However, from here on out, I'd like for you guys to refer to me as M.O.T.I, the man of the industry, your man of the industry. Can I get a M.O.T.I? There we go.
I've been in the African music industry for close to 10 years now, and within this time, trust me, I've learned a few things. A few things that I think that are so vital for you to understand as a creative in this space, especially in the African continent, so that we, as the African music industry, can progress and be the powerhouse that I truly believe we can be. So let me be your first M.O.T.I. In actual fact, I want to be your favorite M.O.T.I. Are there others out there? Definitely, and they'll soon join us. But my purpose, and the purpose of this platform, is to educate and inspire a new breed of business-minded people to assist our creatives in this industry. M.O.T.Is, hit the register button and gain access to videos that will explain the following. 1. Looking at yourself as a brand and music's role in building a brand. 2. The key team members that you need around you and their roles. 3. Understand and know what you and a producer need to do the minute you make a song in the studio. And we'll introduce the digital split sheet. 4. What is a CMO? A collection management organization. And we'll also touch on music rights and draw parallels between music rights and making a glass of juice. And number 5, legal agreements. Gain access to some verified legal documents that you can purchase and use at your discretion, all made by our M.O.T.I legal team. All this information and resources are available to you, all for free. All you need to do is register. So I ask you, for the betterment of the African music industry, join us, because we need more masters of the industry, M.O.T.Is.